is where the heart is. A safe haven.
Robin had taken out 5 insurance policies, which totaled over $250,000.
It can also be filled with deception.
She was having and killing a child once a year.
And with danger.
Pulling the trigger was actually just perfunctory to the goal.
These deadly women murder those who love them the most. They sacrifice their blood. (1992), Boise, Idaho.
That's my house!
Firefighters are battling to save a home and a family.
Both exits where people could escape were blocked by fire.
My babies are in there!
Ma'am, stop.
The mother is frantic. Her 2 children and husband are trapped inside.
I think most of us would think is the most horrific way that you could pass away.
It will take a miracle to get them out alive.
Bingo! How'd we do?
4 years earlier, a new resident, single mother Robin Lee, lands on her feet when the local YWCA gives her a job.
She was running a bingo game for a local nonprofit organization.
Robin arrived in town with 2 children and about $2 to her name. The charity work is a gamble, but it seems to have paid off.
They had embraced her and thought she was a good person.
She could be the very strong business manager, a leader.
She did philanthropic things for the community and for the homeless.
I said, get to bed this instant!
But there's another side to Robin.
Please, Mom.
She's not as kind and caring to her own.
Midnight. You're going to bed now! I hate you!
She could be different people at different times.
If you get a divorce, I'm gonna live with Dad. Good. You deserve each other.
She basically would be the person you wanted her to be.
When she remarries local man Randy Rowe, there's no domestic bliss.
Randy was a good, simple human being, just a blue-collar guy out making a living and enjoying life.
$200 on a skirt, $500 on hotel accommodation.
Randy doesn't make enough money to satisfy Robin.
We can't pay my medical bills. How are we supposed to pay for this?
Put him on the credit card.
They argue constantly over her exorbitant spending.
She was very materialistic, had lots of nice things for the money she had. In fact, the apartment had quite a few nice furnishings for her level of socioeconomic income.
When the family's finances hit rock bottom, Robin decides it's time for a change.
Robin was motivated by money.
I know you're unemployed, Randy. That's the problem, isn't it?
Robin was motivated by her freedom.
I believe she wanted to start a new life.
Oh my God. What happened to you?
Promise you won't tell anyone.
But Robin isn't interested in walking away empty-handed. She spreads a story that Randy is abusive.
She claimed that she needed to get away from Randy.
You just call me if you need anything, okay?
Thank you.
Robin had lied about these domestic violence problems where her husband, Randy, was attacking her and threatening her.
Are you sure you don't mind? I know I've been staying over a lot.
It's fine. You can't stay there with Randy acting the way he is.
Her close friend Joan believes her and offers her shelter.
You just have a good night's rest. You can stay as often as you like.
Joan, with the biggest heart in the world, bought into it and was helping her friend and protecting her.
What Joan didn't know is that Robin was manipulating and using her as cover.
In the early morning of February 10th, 1992, Robin startles Joan out of her sleep.
Joan, get up. Get up. What is it? I've got to go home. Something terrible has happened.
What do you mean? What's wrong?
I know something has happened. I know something is terribly wrong. Please come with me.
She said, I've had this premonition that something is terribly wrong.
Stop that thing here, please, folks.
That's my house. My babies are in there.
Ma'am, stop.
Why didn't the smoke alarms go off?
This is no bad dream. Robin's fears are real.
Joan.
They arrive to find Robin's house in flames and the firefighters in despair. Inside the home are the bodies of her son, daughter, and husband. No one could save them. Detective Gary Rainey leads the investigation into the blaze that starts to look like arson.
It appeared somebody may have poured an accelerant across the bottom of the house. The breaker switch that controlled the smoke detectors was turned off from the garage.
And the furnace thermostat was set in the full-on position, and it actually excelled the fire and drew it up into the second floor much more rapidly.
Please help.
A tragic fire becomes a murder investigation. But who would want Robin's family dead?
The first thing that started coming to my mind as I spoke with Robin just a few hours after the fire was her lack of emotion. And this just, in my mind, was not normal for a mother.
Stop that thing here, please, folks.
That's my house. My babies are in there.
Ma'am, stop.
Why didn't the smoke alarms go off?
December 1992. The community of Boise, Idaho is mourning the deaths of the Rowe family in a house fire. Fate saves the mother, Robin. She's sleeping at a friend's that night. But she seems to know more about the fire than she ought to.
Why didn't the smoke alarms go off?
The EMT was very suspicious of Robin's behavior because no one had told Robin that the fire alarms didn't go off.
Robin's own words are incriminating her. Robin tries to use the fire to cover up another crime. She tells police the proceeds from the bingo nights have been destroyed.
She reported that the money from the bingo proceeds had been lost in the fire. We found the bingo box with all of the proceeds in it.
Police dig deeper and discover Robin has been stealing the bingo money for months.
She had been embezzling from the bingo operation that she was running.
Robin now finds herself in custody over the theft.
She was arrested for grand theft for that case, but that also got her contained in the Ada County Jail while I could continue to investigate.
With Robin locked away,
And just one more.
the investigation uncovers another of her schemes.
Robin had taken out 5 insurance policies on her 2 children and Randy, which totaled over $250,000.
Great. We're all done.
I was wondering, Bill, since this is a new policy, how long before it takes effect?
Well, with this policy, you get coverage straight away.
Oh, great.
The last life insurance policy, she took out just 16 days prior to the fire.
Well, unless there's anything else, I think we're all done here.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
The more that I looked at the physical evidence and put those pieces of the puzzle together, the more and more convinced I became that she was responsible.
Robin's past discloses an even bigger shock.
This isn't the first time Robin Lee Rowe has had bad luck with fires.
She has lost another child in a house fire.
Let me guess. Keith was well insured.
You betcha.
12 years earlier, her 6-year-old son, Keith, died the same way.
She was living in a borrowed cabin. She had no job, she had no car, but she took out $28,000 worth of life insurance on her son, Keith. Keith was asleep in the bedroom when a fire started in the cabin.
The chances of a mother losing one child in a house fire are astronomical. The chances of that same woman losing a second family in a house fire when she wasn't there are unbelievable.
It's too much of a coincidence, but police still can't move because Robin has a watertight alibi. She is asleep at her friend Joan's.
She was sleeping downstairs on the couch. She couldn't have set this fire.
But there may be a way to trip Robin up.
You have 20 minutes, ladies.
While she's in custody for grand theft, police convince Joan to take part in a sting. She tells a lie to try and get Robin to tell the truth.
The night of the fire, something woke me. I went downstairs and you were there.
I couldn't sleep either. I was upset about Randy and me fighting, so I went out to the car and called my psychiatrist.
The psychiatrist could give you an alibi?
No, I don't want her involved.
Robin admitted that she was not in the apartment at 3:30 in the morning, and that was the epiphany to Joan to realize her very, very dear friend had committed murder.
Goodbye, John.
No one believes Robin was on the phone.
About 3 o'clock in the morning, she left, drove to her house.
While Randy, 10-year-old Joshua, and 8-year-old Tabitha sleep soundly, Robin disables the smoke alarms and turns up the heat.
She poured an accelerant beginning below the stairwell at the top, the landing on the second floor. Then she poured a trailer of accelerant down along the side of the stairwell on the lower level.
The stage is set for the perfect fire.
She stood at the front door and, in one fatal moment, dropped a match, lit the accelerant, closed the door, walked out, got into her car, and drove away.
Smoke immediately fills the house, then the lungs of Randy, Joshua, and little Tabitha.
These individuals begin to start coughing violently. Tissues body-wide are beginning to starve from oxygen. It leads to confusion and then to drowsiness. They'll tend to succumb and their heart will stop beating.
The manner in which she killed her children and her husband, horrible. They died a horrible death.
Randy was found laying in his bed in the master bedroom. Joshua was found on top of his bed, down in the bedroom. Tabitha was sleeping across the end of her parents' bed, where she often would if she was a little scared at night, and that's where her body was found. The three of them, Randy, Joshua, and Tabitha, simply became no longer worth it to Robin.
By 1992, police have enough evidence to charge Robin Lee Rowe with 3 counts of first-degree murder. She's found guilty and sentenced to death and awaits execution in an Idaho prison.
Robin Rowe is definitely where she needs to be and should never be let out of prison.
The only thing people really meant to Robin was a nice payday.
It's a parent's worst nightmare, losing a newborn baby.
It'll be okay, baby. Drink it.
Would you like to hold your baby?
But for this family, it is the start of a tragedy no one can imagine. 1972, Schenectady, New York State.
Yankees meet tonight in the deciding game of the American League.
Joe and Mary Beth Tinning can take comfort in their two surviving children, Barbara and Joseph.
Joe was very happy. Joe really wanted children, and he loved them.
What is going on back there?
But friends notice that Mary Beth doesn't take to motherhood as others do.
What do you think?
She appeared to love them.
You are so in trouble.
She didn't like to deal with the messy part of bringing up a baby, the diaper-changing, burping part, the screaming all-night part. I think she liked them only as playthings, as toys.
But Mary Beth's toys are breaking. 3 weeks after bearing their baby, their 2-year-old son, Joseph, dies, and there's no explanation.
It's terribly, terribly hard. Everybody flocked around.
All the friends and family would run in and lavish her with attention and sympathy.
Joseph was just a little angel.
Despite her tragic loss, Mary Beth seems to enjoy being fussed over.
All of a sudden, she got attention from everybody, and it made her have a purpose in life, you know? And that's why I think she really, she just fed off of that. She fed off the kids.
The family is still in mourning when their only surviving child, Barbara, contracts a mystery illness.
She seems fine now.
The doctor insists Barbara stays overnight in the hospital.
Usually, when these children are brought to the hospital and are getting good medical care, they improve.
No, I'm taking her home. She'll be much happier at home.
But Mary Beth has other ideas.
No, I want her close with me. Come on, we're going home.
Barbara is home less than an hour
Someone please help me!
before she's rushed back in critical condition.
Help her!
Before morning, she is dead.
There was nothing wrong with that child when she left here.
The nurses at both hospitals gossiped a lot about their suspicions about her. But nobody was prepared to actually face her because they couldn't have proof. Joe was very distressed when Barbara, the older child, died. But these children kind of came and went like little wraiths, you know?
The Tinnings' 3 children have died within 3 months. It's a medical mystery.
If you got 3 kids that die, you really got to be aware that something else is wrong.
Joe Tinning was the perfect foil for Mary Beth because he was so accepting of everything she said and did. You wondered how he could have his children die one after another, and never say, well, is there something you're doing wrong? One of his quotes I remember was, well, you have to believe the wife.
When people look at a woman, especially a mother, they do not ever see a killer. There must be another explanation as to why these children are dying.
Most doctors rule out SIDS because 2 of the children have passed the danger age.
Kids that are up and walking around do not die from sudden infant death syndrome.
Instead, they suspect a bad family seed.
She and Joe were sent to one of the leading children's hospitals in the country to check whether there wasn't some genetic factor.
Doctors don't find a cause for the deaths, but the Tinnings are advised not to have any more children. But that doesn't stop Mary Beth.
What are you doing?
Oh, please don't hate me, Joe. I'm pregnant again.
A year after bearing her 3rd child,
Please.
she's pregnant again.
Please, I can do this. We can.
And the cycle of life and death will continue. Schenectady, New York. Mary Beth Tinning has given birth to and buried 3 children. Against her doctor's advice, she gets pregnant again. In November 1973, she gives birth to a healthy baby boy, Timothy.
Help me, somebody help me with the baby number.
He is 2 weeks old when he too is rushed to the emergency room.
They all followed the same path. Mary Beth would rush to the hospital carrying a dying or dead child and say, I found him like this in his crib. Please try and save him. She appeared terribly concerned.
Is everything okay? My baby's not breathing.
Over the next decade, Mary Beth gives birth to 4 more children, and they all die inexplicably.
She would go from hospital to hospital. She wouldn't go to the same one over again to let somebody put the blame on her. She was smart that way.
But none of the medical professionals see what the real problem is. They don't realize Mary Beth is suffering from Munchausen by proxy.
Someone suffering from Munchausen hurts themselves to draw attention to themselves, sympathy from others. Munchausen by proxy is wherein someone hurts someone else, makes them sick, or injures them, or in this case, kills them, so that she can get attention for herself.
Mary Beth Kate followed that pattern pretty closely.
But Joe is ignorant and still wants a family. The couple decide to adopt a child, Michael. But Joe's happiness doesn't last long. Mary Beth now turns her lethal intentions on him. She tries to poison Joe with an overdose of prescription drugs. Whether she wants to kill him or just make him sick is unclear.
She finally, when he was taken ill, confessed to her brother-in-law, who rushed Joe to the hospital and got him pumped out, saved his life.
Police investigator Bill Barnes remembers questioning Joe about the poisoning.
Why did you take so many pills, Joe?
He didn't show the emotion. He might have felt it inside, but he didn't show it.
You know, you could have died.
And therefore, when I asked him, I said, you know, she tried to poison you, and he acknowledged that he thought she did. But if she did, she did, you know. It doesn't seem to bother him too much.
For some reason, Joe doesn't resent his wife's murder attempt or his children's deaths. Not even when their adopted son, Michael, home alone with Mary Beth, becomes the next victim. Once again, Mary Beth seeks medical help too late.
She called the doctors, and the nurse made an appointment for her to bring the baby in at 10. She shows up at 10 o'clock with a baby that had been dead for 2 hours.
When she had an adopted child and that child died, all of a sudden, there was no longer the possibility of this being an inherited or congenital disorder. All of a sudden, it was something in the home, and in all likelihood, it was the mom.
The Tinning children did not have a genetic disorder. They had a killer mom disorder.
Finally, after 13 years, friends and nursing staff pressure authorities to investigate the deaths of all the Tinnings children.
I told you, please, just stop. Shh.
But before it commences, there's one more casualty. Tammy Lynn is 4 months old when Mary Beth has had enough of her.
The child woke up and cried. She couldn't stop the crying, so she smothered her. Very, very hard to prove that a very small infant who has been smothered hasn't simply died of crib death.
By now, there's no doubt these deaths were not from natural causes. The police finally bring Mary Beth in for questioning. It is Bill Barnes who gets her to talk.
First, she denied it, with me. And then when I brought Joe into it and said that, he said he would stand by her, she blurted out, she said, I did it. She killed Tammy Lynn. She killed 3 of her children, Nathan, Timothy, and Tammy Lynn.
Most people believe she killed them all.
Although police suspect she killed her entire family, they only need one murder charge to lock Mary Beth Tinning away. In 1987, she is found guilty of second-degree murder of her last child, Tammy Lynn, and is sentenced to 20 years to life.
Mary Beth was astounded. I don't think it really had hit her until then that she was going to jail, and that she was going to jail for a very long time.
Mary Beth craves attention at the cost of her own blood.
23 years in jail has not changed her one whit as far as her psychic state. I have always thought she didn't belong in prison. She belonged in a psychiatric institution.
Joe promises his wife he will stand by her. And true to his word, today he still visits Mary Beth in prison.
I can't understand how any man would go back to a woman who'd do that. But there he is after 23 years, still visiting her in jail, still saying that he'll provide a home for her if and when she comes out.
Mary Beth is now eligible for parole, but so far it has been denied.
What sticks out mostly in my mind was how anybody could do that, to their children, how anybody could do that to their husband. How could you be driven that far to kill another human being? I don't know.
Mary Beth Tinning is everything a mother should not be. Thank God she's locked away.
Why do you have to drink so much?
A common domestic argument. Parents disagreeing on how to discipline their
I
children.
am taking away your TV and video game privileges. Get to your room. I said, get to your room.
It should be easy to resolve, but not in this family.
Why are you always taking his side?
I'm not taking sides. I just think you're overreacting.
The tension was growing in their household, and it went over the top.
Because she was a woman pushed over the brink.
Hey, boys, please.
California, 1999.
Settle down, please. Settle down.
Cora and Xavier Caro are active members of the Santa Rosa Valley community.
They were very close. They went on a lot of family vacations. They went to movies a lot. They did a lot of things together, especially going to church. They were a very religious family.
Well, look, we can certainly help out on Saturday, can't we, dear?
Sure we can, yeah.
Cora's a busy mom with 4 young boys under 12.
Boys, I was going to ask if you wouldn't mind baking some of those amazing cookies of yours.
It'll be my pleasure. You let me know what else I can do, okay?
But she is always ready to lend a hand.
I'll see you on the weekend.
Anthony, thank you very much.
This was a woman we knew from classroom volunteering and from church activities. We always saw her giving high fives with her children and hugging them. She was, by all accounts, a loving mother.
Well, I'll see you in about a month.
The couple live and work together.
Oh, hello, Mrs. Baker. It's good to see you again. Oh, he's quite the taskmaster, my husband. He's got me shackled under the desk here.
I'll take the shackles off.
He is a doctor, and she's his office manager.
Bye-bye.
She deserted her nursing career and became his office manager. Her husband and sons became her whole life.
But behind the perfect facade, Cora's hiding secrets.
How can we owe so much money?
We've had a lot of expenses.
She's a thief. In just 1 year, she has siphoned off $100,000 from the medical clinic.
Babe, we need it. I'm not letting you anywhere.
He discovered that his practice was deeply in debt.
Credit cards, I've had enough.
After everything I've done for you for all these years.
He became incensed when it turned out that she was funneling money from the office accounts to her parents.
And Cora has another problem: alcohol.
She was drinking a lot. She became depressed. Her husband finally talked her into trying some antidepressants.
Cora's problems were far deeper than can be treated simply with a pill. Cora probably needed hospitalization.
Cora isn't the only one with secrets. Xavier is an adulterer.
He had an affair with a biofeedback technician who worked in his office.
Cora found out, and it crushed her.
And she has something else to fear.
She found a worksheet that he and his attorney had recently compiled, and it was a divorce attorney. And it was at that point that she realized this could happen, and this is real.
Cora's world had fallen apart. Not only was her husband leaving her, she had been replaced, in her mind, by another woman.
Thinking she is about to lose her marriage, Cora threatens to harm herself.
She was confiding to a friend on the phone that she would be better off dead, and that she was holding a gun at that moment.
Please sit down.
She believed her life was over. She was going to lose everything.
What is it?
A concerned friend goes to see Xavier.
She talked about killing herself.
She wouldn't do that. She wouldn't.
He thought that she was just being overly dramatic.
She's a drama queen, you know that.
But he was concerned, apparently, about this incident where she confided to her friend that she'd be better off dead.
Xavier tries to convince his wife to seek professional help.
Cora could not see up. She was so far down, she believed her life was over. She was going to lose everything. And she was in a black, crushing depression.
Cora has her own plans. A modern-day tragedy.
When people are in that frame of mind, they don't think correctly.
In the late 1990s, Santa Rosa Valley, California,
Cora, you cannot be serious.
Xavier and Cora Caro's marriage is falling apart.
Everything I've done for you for all these years.
She's been stealing from him. He has been having an affair. And now they're living on a razor's edge. It won't take much to push them over. November 22nd, 1999.
It was in the evening, and they had just had dinner.
What are you doing?
They were drinking margaritas, and one of their sons came downstairs.
Dad, don't you think you've had enough?
The boy mouthed off a little, and that's when a fight broke out over disciplining this boy.
I'm leaving.
Where are you going?
To the office.
However, the fight they ended up having was much more extreme than that.
No! Don't you leave me. Don't you leave me. No! Don't you leave me.
He was going to his office to cool down and to do some work.
What is it?
Why would he answer? Cora, I'm not gonna talk with you when you're drunk.
In Cora's mind, Xavier has left her forever.
She had something like 1.5 times the legally permissible amount of alcohol in her system. She also had some drugs. She became very robotic and cold.
That's what I've always admired about you, Xavier. You always know the difference between right and wrong.
She was machine-like. That gave him a chill, and he ran home.
Down, boys. Smile for me.
Cora gets her children ready for bed.
Every night, Cora would tuck her kids in and she'd put a little Bible underneath their pillows.
She had made the decision and she was going through the motions until the time when she could carry out the plan.
Jesus, no!
Xavier arrives home too late to stop Cora's madness.
There was his wife with a gun by her side, bleeding from the head. She wanted to die, so she shot herself in the head, and he discovered her body.
But where are the children?
My partner and I were the first initial responders to the scene.
Deputy Tony Tutino will never forget the night he is called to the Caro's house.
We could hear him crying. He just seemed like the whole world had kind of crashed down around him.
Police quickly put the puzzle together.
She went upstairs to where the family's bedrooms were.
8-year-old Michael and 5-year-old Christopher are sound asleep.
She shot each of them by holding the gun to their heads. It was an act of revenge because she was taking the things away from her husband that he cherished the most. She then went into the room where her oldest boy was alone. He had apparently gotten up as a result of the noise, and he was sitting somewhat upright in bed. She shot him once, then she shot him again. She then turned his body over so that his face would be up to greet her husband. The tragedy just hammers you.
I think it was horrendous in the fact that 3 small children, and you see them, and they've been basically cut down in the prime of their life. You know, life had been taken away from them.
Pulling the trigger on their little heads was actually just perfunctory to the goal of getting them and herself where she felt they needed to be. And that was gone.
She had some very deep pools of insecurity and anger and all kinds of turbulent passions in her life before the killings, but came out most obviously and most explosively when she held the gun to each of her children's heads.
The only child Cora spares is baby Gabrielle.
He was in his crib, and maybe she just couldn't bring herself to do that.
Incredibly, someone else survives. Despite a horrific head wound, Cora lives to face justice.
Some people kill their children and then they make a very half-hearted suicidal gesture. That isn't the case here. She shot herself in the head. Very few people survive that.
Cora initially enters a plea of insanity, but against her lawyer's advice, withdraws it. She is convicted of the brutal slaying of her 3 sons and is sentenced to death. She currently awaits execution in a California prison.
I don't think Cora was born to kill. She's on death row for this desperate, horrible act because she was a woman pushed over the brink.
Some mothers are maternal, and some mothers are monsters. Robin Lee Rowe burns her home and family for money. Mary Beth Tinning gives life and takes life away from 8 children. And Caro shoots her 3 sons to avenge her husband. These deadly women don't provide love and shelter. They martyr their families. They sacrifice their blood.